Good evening, everyone, and welcome out to Speed Racing Network, where we present the Lone Star 165 here at Texas Motor Speedway. My name is Sean Griffith. I am here with the great Jonathan Byer. How's it going, Jonathan?
Going good, Sean. Glad to be here tonight, and glad to be at the home track of myself, Texas Motor Speedway. I've been going there ever since I was little, and our family's been season ticket holders there for a long time, and so it's always special to see racing there and have a lot of experience around this track, so hopefully I can bring some of that insight here tonight.
Well, man, I mean, I didn't know that you were season ticket holders. Maybe I needed to be a better friend to you, a little bit earlier on.
Oh, that's funny. No, but it is a great track. It's a difficult track. It's got two completely different ends, and it's going to be a true test of these drivers tonight, and I truly believe the cream is going to rise to the top.
Definitely. I mean, we've got 110 laps to figure it out. I know last night's race in the Truck Series was absolutely incredible. We went completely caution-free. You had a great race. Unfortunately, it wasn't quite enough to stay in the playoffs, but some of these drivers out here desperately need a race like that.
And this is a track where that's entirely possible. You take advantage of some good track position, and this is definitely a track where you can play some strategy. You play a strategy that's a little bit different than maybe some of those guys on the cut line you can launch yourself in. So it's one of those tracks that it's not a super speedway where it's a complete wild card, but there's enough factors in there to make it interesting.
Definitely. Now, if you haven't been with us all season long, basically we race for 20 weeks. This is week number 19, so we're right here at the end of it. $10 a week to get in, no fast repairs, fixed setups. Everybody has the same car. But we're giving out $500 for first place next week.
Ooh, that's fast approaching, and we're also giving out $200 to the team champion. That will also be crowned next week.
Definitely. So next week is the big time, but this week is the cutoff race. This week might be even more important than next week because, I mean, you can't make it the next week without this one.
That is true. There's still a little bit of money in those that don't make it that can finish 6th, 7th, or 8th, but you're right, Sean. You can't compete for that championship unless you make it through tonight.
Definitely. Now, we are paying out some money tonight as well. So $30 for first place, $20 for second, $10 for third, fourth, and fifth. So we always give out these weekly payouts just to kind of keep you motivated to be out there and to definitely have a good race and everything. But the big money, the huge money is what we're talking about here, those season-long payouts. And like you said, it is fast approaching. I really hope that Jason Tripp and the Speed Racing Network bank account can handle this.
I sure hope so too, but our champion, like you said, is going to get $500, $300 for second, $180 for third, $120 for fourth, and $80 for fifth place. So those will be the guys that make it through the cut after tonight. They'll be eligible for those positions. The rest, the 5 that don't make it, or the 6, I should say, since we have 11, are going to be battling it for that 6th, 7th, and 8th spot where they can earn 60, 40, or 20 respectively.
Yeah, so everybody will have something to race for next week. Even the people that aren't in the playoffs, we do have a second-tier playoffs, which I don't have the standings on that right here in front of me, but we do still have money for those as well. So believe me, next week is going to be complete and total chaos.
Oh, man, I can't wait to watch, and I'll be here watching it with you, Sean, so I'm sure we'll have something good to talk about.
Definitely will. Now, we also have something else being given out tonight, and you know a little bit more about this than I do. It's the JBR Challenge, and if you don't know who JBR is, you're listening to him right now. Jonathan Byer and Jonathan Byer Racing, they have gotten Glitch to come on board with us here, and they are going to give out a starter pack, a Glitch starter pack, to the highest non-playoff finisher tonight.
Yes, it was Mike Mosby that won it last night. We'll see who can come away with it tonight. Glitch is an incredible partner of JBR. We're grateful for their support. They're a good, clean energy that anybody can have. They have supplements and post-workout options available as well. But the starter packs, which you see there on the left-hand side, that's what the winner will receive tonight. And if you want to go to Glitch and place an order, use code JBR10. It'll save you 10% and help our team out.
I got to tell you, I placed my orders yesterday. I actually sent a starter pack out to Greg Olenek, my co-broadcaster on Wednesday nights. So he's got some Glitch energy going his way, and I bought a lot of it. So I cannot wait because, man, we're about to get into tax season. I'm an accountant. I need all the energy I can get.
That's right, and their flavors are incredible. My personal favorite's the pink lemonade, so if you're thinking about ordering a specific flavor, can't go wrong with that one.
I'm waiting for the loopy fruits.
Yeah.
Well, another good thing out there is our beer of the week, sponsored by Beer Street Journal and BeerStreetJournal.com. So let's find out what the beer of the week is this week. This week's Beer Street Journal Beer of the Week comes out of the world-famous Guinness family, so you know it's going to be good. With the holidays fast approaching, chocolate and mint are going to be two of the flavors on most people's lists. Well, Guinness decided to combine those flavors together and age them in Kentucky bourbon barrels to make Guinness Chocolate Mint Stout. Now, some people might not be fans of chocolate alcoholic beverages, but the way the chocolate and the mint interact with the bourbon character leads to something really special. It's the perfect beer to sip on after a solid meal with family and friends over the holidays. But if you're still not a fan, you might want to check out Guinness's Gingerbread Stout, which is also making its return this year. So don't miss out on Guinness Chocolate Mint Stout, available for a limited time. The Beer Street Journal Beer of the Week is sponsored by BeerStreetJournal.com, the leading online publication for craft beer reviews. Go to BeerStreetJournal.com to find your next great beer. And as always, you must be 21 to enjoy, and please drink responsibly. That's right, it is Guinness Chocolate Mint Stout. And I was just telling Jonathan, I'm not a huge beer drinker, but man, this sounds really, really good for the winter.
It sounds festive is what it is. It's for the time of year, but not a stout guy myself, but it's intriguing, probably worth a try.
Yeah, I mean, they also have that gingerbread stout as well. So if you don't really like the mint chocolate, then you might like the gingerbread as well. So definitely be on the lookout for that, our beer of the week, and go to BeerStreetJournal.com to find that next great beer. All sorts of great articles and new brews going out for the holidays. But let's go and check out our team championship. And you know what? Before we do that, let's actually go out onto the track here, and we'll come back to this because we've got one of our playoff drivers out there on the track getting his laps in here. James Shainwolf, currently sitting in the 11th position, so he has a lot of stuff to do out there. He's got a lot of work to do to get caught up, but you can see him out there on the track trying to get that good position.
Seen him be competitive week in and week out, so he definitely has the capability to run up front. But you see that 22 points out of the cut. That's an amount where you're going to need a little bit of help that's outside of your control. You're going to need some trouble from the other playoff drivers to really have a shot. But even if that happens, you still have to have a good run yourself tonight. So we'll have to watch it.
Yeah, the other one that's out there right now, Vincent Cortez. And so Vincent is currently our points leader, and he is really sitting pretty right now, 24 points to the good. And with the number of cars that are out there on the track, he is going to be pretty dang close to locked in.
Yeah, 24 points is a nice cushion to have, and so he just needs to keep his nose clean and keep that car pointed the right way and stay out of trouble, and he'll be just fine. But that's what a win will do for you. That's why you go out and race as hard as you do, like he did last week, to give himself this cushion to where he doesn't have to be as stressed out over the course of this race.
Oh, definitely. Another guy that's in right now, Tristan Bailey. Let's pull him up and see how he's looking here. 69 laps led, but he's got 2 wins on the season, and he's 15 points to the good right now in that number 88 car. So definitely looking pretty good on his end as well.
And he's one of those drivers that he usually finds it when he needs it, and we saw that when he was able to squeak into that round, the last cut. But 15 points, that's a decent margin, but you're still going to have a good run, probably finish in the top half of the field to guarantee it. But we'll be watching that points margin fluctuate over the course of the night.
Yeah, let's take a look at Greg Olenek here. Now, Greg is on the inside of the cut right now, but only by 2 points. This is his favorite track. In fact, he won here last season in the season finale. And so, and you can see him getting a little out of control coming around. We'll see if maybe he goes back to the start and kind of redoes that lap, because he did not like what was going on there.
Believe that was his out lap, so I think he's going to be okay and be able to come around and get that thing wound back up. But that just goes to show you how tough these Xfinity cars are to drive around this track. There's not a lot of downforce, not a lot of grip, especially on cold tires, and so running a good qualifying lap is a really challenging here. He'll get that wound back up and going, but Greg Olenek, he's one of those guys that we see on the cut quite often, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but he always seems to come out on top. I think he's just cool under pressure, and maybe if he's able to do that again tonight, it'll pay off.
Well, for those of you that don't know, he is a 2-time Emmy-nominated producer. And so definitely hoping for him to win that Emmy this year. But someone else out there on the track right now, Adrian Schumacher, who's got 2 wins on the season. He's known as the road course master, but he is pretty dang good on these ovals too.
We saw him win at Indianapolis, the oval, a little bit earlier this year. So he can definitely get around these circle tracks as well. Really close to the outside wall right there, getting out of 2. He's trying to get all he can get on this lap. He's got a 16-point cushion, which is pretty decent, like I said when we were talking about Tristan Bailey, who had 14 points. He just needs a solid run tonight, and he's a driver that has the caliber to usually do that without big issues, so I think he'll be fine. We got Rhett Tucker here also. He's 9 below the cut, so he's one of those drivers that has one of the better opportunities to propel himself forward.
Definitely. Rhett is one of those guys that, yeah, while he is outside the cut currently, you always expect to see him towards the front of the pack. And so don't be surprised at all if he ends up there. But another one that's kind of behind the 8 ball tonight, Aaron Gerwitz. So right now he's 13 points below the cut, which is 13 positions on the track. Not only does he have to beat the next person in front of him by 13 positions, but he has to beat a lot of other people by 13 positions in order to work his way in.
Yeah, that's the tough thing, because you see 13 points and you're like, oh, that's not that much, because that's just 13 positions on the track. But think about the drivers you have to beat to gain those 13 points, and so that's where the challenge comes in. So he's got his work cut out for him tonight, but he's definitely still mathematically capable of advancing.
Let's check out Bo Tiffany here, who, again, below the cut by 6 points. 6 points is not unattainable, so it's he could definitely do this. And Bo Tiffany is that guy that he has not had a first-place finish this season, but just the way he drives, you expect him to have at least 1 win a season, and this might be the night for him.
It might be. He's finished second. He's capable of running up front. We've seen him have a lot of speed the last couple of weeks. I think he's carrying a good amount of momentum into this race. But 6 points is just a strategy call or a good position on a restart. That's not a lot of points, so he just needs things to go his way today and be as aggressive as possible without taking himself out of it.
Let's check out Seth Reid here, and he is only 2 points outside the cut, so he is the one that Greg Olenek has to be the most worried about. And so Seth is one of those that he can pop off a good run at any moment. He basically kept Highline Racing in that team championship conversation there for a long time just based off of his finishes. So you just never know with him.
This is the thing when we get this far towards the end of the playoffs, is you have really good drivers sitting outside of the cut. And so, I mean, that just shows you the kind of talent we have here at SRN and how tough it is to get in there. But 2 points he's right there. Tyler Markle is also below the cut by 15, so he's another one of those drivers that might need a little help outside of his control tonight.
Yeah, I think the only other driver that we were not able to get is actually the one that's sitting on the pole right now, and that is Jordan Bain. And so he is actually up there on the pole position, not by much, just by 0.02 of a second, but definitely a good start for him, and we kind of know him for those good starts as well.
Yeah, we know him for his good starts and his consistency, and I guess he ran a qualifying lap so fast we weren't able to catch him. But 19 points is a pretty good cushion. He's another one who's just basically got to finish that race tonight, and he'll be okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we got all of the rest of them. So while we have just a brief moment, let's take a look at those standings. And you can see here Vincent Cortez, Jordan Bain, looking really, really formidable up there. I don't think that there's a lot that they can do to knock themselves out of this, even if they have a really crummy race.
Yeah, and realistically looking at this, Sean, 5th place is the only one that's up for grabs. I think 1 through 4 has got a big enough cushion, especially at a track like Texas where, yes, wrecks are going to happen, but it's not like a plate track where we're going to see big carnage and all that. So I think Seth Reid, Bo Tiffany, Rhett Tucker, Greg Olenek, that's going to be the bubble match, and those are going to be the 4 drivers we have to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and also just be really careful for an Adrian Schumacher or a Tristan Bailey or even a Jordan Bain. If they have a wreck early on in the race that puts them out of this race, that could spell some big trouble for them. So they just have to keep it clean, and that's we keep harping on this every single week, and we're going to harp on it some more. There's a big difference between points racing and single race racing. This is not a single race. Next week is. But this week, all you have to do is do enough to get to next week.
That's right, Sean. You have to make it to next week to be able to have a shot at that one race shootout, like you said. So for some of these guys, they might be racing like it's 1 week. But if you're in the cut right now, you're racing for points. You're not racing to win this race tonight. So we'll see what happens. It should be quite entertaining.
Well, not only that, but we've got the team championship going on as well. And we've got a nice little tight race here between R&D Motorsports and JW Racing.
This is a very close battle, 25 points if my math is right, Sean. So that's pretty close, and drivers on both sides of the screen there that could run up front. You saw JW had 3 cars in the top 6 last week, which is quite impressive, and that's going to give you a bunch of points. So if they do that again, it's going to be tough for R&D, but you never know.
Yeah, and then on the other side of the bracket, you've got Tank Racing and Striker Motorsports. 50-point difference here, but that's not unattainable. So, over on the left side, you can see Tank Racing. Vincent Cortez won that race. Adrian Schumacher came in 13th. Derek De Silva came in 24th. If Vincent Cortez doesn't win that race, this is a whole lot closer.
Absolutely, because you see the big difference there between the first place points and 13th place points, and sometimes that's all it takes. Now, you do have to think about that they don't have to match each other this week, but Striker has to gain 50 points on Tank. So it's a tall task, but mathematically doable.
Definitely. Well, I think we have got qualifying basically wrapped up here. We will get out there onto the track and find out exactly how it looks. And it looks like Matthew Robinson from JW Racing snuck in and took the pole away from Jordan Bain.
Yeah, he did. And he ran 500ths faster, so that's a pretty good lap. Jordan Bain, like you said, he's going to start second. Tristan Bailey, a playoff driver, in third. And there's your bubble man, Seth Reid on the outside looking in, starting fourth.
Yep, Corey Saucier from R&D Motorsports, which he just didn't have the season he wanted to have this season, but still a phenomenal driver up there in fifth. One of your drivers, Nathan De La Rosa, who has just improved week after week after week, is up in sixth.
Vincent Cortez, our points leader, will roll off seventh. Rhett Tucker, another one of those drivers on the outside looking in, starts eighth. Michael Lark will start ninth for JW. Nathan Nixon will start 10th.
And then you got Greg Olenek from Rev Racing, who is the bubble guy right now. He is on the inside of that bubble. He is looking at 11th position to start off with. And Drew Ballesteros from JW Racing starting off in 12th here tonight. So, man, it is going to be a fantastic evening. We've got 29 drivers out there on the track, which means that's 29 points that are basically up for grabs for those people. So, so some of these guys, they won't have a shot to get in unless they win this race and go absolutely crazy and everything else happens as well. But there are some of these that are right there on that cut line that all they just need is a better race than the other guy.
And that could surely happen here. You could play a lot of strategy at this racetrack to make that possible. But we saw the truck race go green flag to flag last night, which isn't that uncommon on iRacing, but it's sure a nice sight to see on Speed Racing Network. But you think about, we had to make 2 green flag pit stops during the course of that race, and one mistake on pit road, whether that be speeding or an unsafe entrance or exit, can cause problems because without cautions, you're not getting any of those laps back. So if we do have green flag pit stops tonight, it's going to be all about making them mistake-free if you're a playoff driver.
Yeah, and this is not an easy pit road. We saw that a lot last night. A lot of people just really chattering those tires getting into pit road. So not an easy one here, but we also saw that last night's winner just used pit road to his advantage because his pit times were about a second faster all the way down pit lane than everyone else, and he ended up winning that race by a couple seconds.
That's all it can be. There's a lot of time made and lost on pit road.
Well, they are going around the track right now. Jonathan Byer, who you got?
Oh, you know who I got, Sean. I got the number 66, my own driver, Nathan De La Rosa, tonight. This is his home track of Texas. We actually met up at the Texas race just about a month and a half ago. So I think he's going to be able to find his way around this familiar track.
You know, I got to tell you, I'm loving Greg Olenek. I know he's just right there on that bubble, but he loves that pressure. And I got to tell you, this is his favorite track. He won here last season. And the big thing for me is that his initials spell out G-O, go.
That's right, Sean. Speed Racing Network, we like to go faster. And speaking of going, we're about to drop the green flag.
Yep, Matthew Robinson gets that green flag, and he takes off. And you can see gets a great jump on those other 2 drivers of Jordan Bain and Tristan Bailey.
straights, and they're going to fan out into this wide turn 1 and 2, but the bottom is definitely the preferred line, even more so on these cold tires when there's not a lot of grip. They're going to funnel onto the backstretch, which is kind of narrow here, into a 3 and 4 where these cars can get really loose. So, you know, there's a bunch of different ends and little nuances to this racetrack, but if you could hit them all perfectly, you're going to pull out in front. And Matthew Robinson opened up to a half-second lead already. Yeah,
there is just enough room here to maneuver, but if you're not careful, that wall can reach out and grab you here at Texas.
And the speeds here are so fast that you definitely don't want any physical damage on that race car. That's going to slow you down, especially on these long dogleg front stretch. So keeping that car clean is half the battle. And so these guys early, they're just going to need to take it easy because these cars can be really treacherous on those fresh tires. Another thing to think about, though, is the tire wear at this track is decent. It's not one of the most wearing tracks like what we'll see next week at Atlanta, but if you take care of your tires and give it a, 8 to 10 laps, taking a little bit easier than the guys in front of you, you can run them back down with ease. So it'll be interesting to see who's a comer and goer early and who stays back to save their stuff.
Yeah, and I know last night they were coming in around lap 30. They wanted to cut that race into thirds. I have not been told exactly what the fuel run is here, but they may have to get another pit stop in there.
I think we're looking at least 2, maybe 3. It's going to be one of those things where you can maybe pit one extra time and have a bigger tire advantage, but are you going to be able to run them back down? Is there going to be enough time? 110 laps, kind of an odd distance for that. But last night, the Truck Series race, I chose to stay out the entire fuel run, which was 35, instead of pit at 30. And when I got back on the track, I was a little bit faster than the leaders, but the race wasn't long enough to reel them all the way back in. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of strategy these guys play.
We're watching right now Rhett Tucker doing battle with your pick, Nathan De La Rosa here. And you can see that Rhett Tucker, he was a winner at Richmond. But you can also see that his number is yellow on the scoreboard right now, which means he is on the outside looking in as he takes it 3 wide with Seth Reid in the middle.
That's not where the bubble driver Seth Reid wants to find himself early in this race. 5 laps in the middle, 3 wide, especially 1 and 2 here. But they got it all sorted out. They're going to single file back out. And another thing to think about is, we talked about stretching that fuel and saving and strategy. If you're Nathan or Rhett, and you're kind of in line right now, you're using that draft to save a little bit more fuel than, let's say, Tristan Bailey or even more leader Matthew Robinson is. He's getting the worst fuel mileage of anybody on the racetrack, and so that might play into things as well.
Looking at Jordan Bain right now, you can see he's got a new paint scheme here tonight. It's still B water, but a little bit of a different paint scheme than the blank white one that he used to have. So good job on that.
Good looking car. We like good looking schemes, and I like how the numbers like powder blue color. That's a pretty good looking race car. It looks pretty quick here early, but he's one of those guys that, like I said earlier, looks like he's backing off a little bit early, saving, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to be worn back here by the end of this fuel run and passing these guys right back.
Well, this happened a lot last night too, where basically you have to make the decision. Do I want to really, really push this and go for that 1 extra point, or do I want to go ahead and back it off and just be sure I'm completely safe? And right now, this early in the race, back it off, be safe.
He probably saw Matthew Robinson get out to that second half lead he had on Jordan Bain a few laps ago and was like, man, I just don't, that gap's a little bit too big to try to go up there and grab a point. Let me go ahead and play this a little safer and fall back and save my tires.
You see Greg Olenek, he is already up a couple spots from where we started. And so he is trying to work his way forward to solidify his spot in here. But keep in mind that Seth Reid, the one that is on the other side of that bubble, is already 4 spots ahead of him.
Yeah. Seth Reid, his line is a little bit higher than Greg's if you watch him. And I like Greg's line here a lot better. If you can get right on that white line in both ends, that's the best way around here. It's where the most grip is. It's the fastest line. And that's how Greg's able to efficiently pass these guys a little bit faster. Seth Reid hasn't been able to move through the guys in front of him quite as fast. And I think part of that's because that little bit higher line he's running. It looks like he just can't keep that car on the white line as good as Greg.
Well, going back up front just to check in, Matthew Robinson is still 1 second ahead of everybody, so he is just taken off and run away with this thing. He's got nothing to lose out here tonight because he is not in the playoffs. His team joined a little bit late in the season, so he really didn't get the full benefit of the full season gain points. But you can see already he is an amazing driver.
Yeah, and JW is one of those teams that we've seen them run well as a team at times and not run well as a team at times. But you got two other drivers right now in the top 10, and Matthew, I think at this point is kind of realizing, man, I got a second lead on Tristan. You know, it looks like this is going to go a little greener. Maybe I should back off and save the tires a little bit because he's kind of fallen back into the clutches, the 88, but he might be just trying to save a little bit, knowing that this race looks like it has the looks to go green for a little while.
Let's take a look at his teammate back here in 14th place. This is James Shea. And so he's got a little bit of work to, actually he's got a lot of work to do because, you know, he came into this race 22 points down. I mean, you are going to have the absolute perfect series of events out there for you to make it in, but no reason not to try it out.
Yeah, and, you know, it's going to be one of those things where he's going to have to try to find a strategy or some way to win this race and hope some of the other guys have issues. Otherwise, he's just going to line it up next week and compete for that 6th through 8th place prize. But, you know, he's still out here, and his teammates are going to help him do whatever they can to get that car advanced. But like you said, Sean, he's going to need an almost perfect night to do so.
Checking in on our point leader right now, Vincent Cortez, who finally got his first win of the season last week, or last time we were actually racing. So he was a winner there at Phoenix, and definitely a great run for him. And he wants another good run here tonight, even though he doesn't desperately need a good run. He just wants to put fear into people right now.
Momentum's a big thing. If you can come out of here running really well, maybe winning this race, that's huge momentum going into the championship battle next week. So, you know, there's reason to actually be somewhat on the aggressive side, not just lay back and be okay finishing 10th or so. So Cortez, he's aggressive and he wants to go out there and win every race. So I think he's gonna give it a shot tonight. This is a track that I feel suits him as a driver a little bit better, and you know, he's running 7th right now, just buying time. But wouldn't be surprised if we see him up near the front towards the end.
Speaking of up near the front, Tristan Bailey has cut that lead in half. It is down to under half a second now. And so Bailey is definitely on the move, as is Rhett Tucker, who I believe is the biggest mover of the race currently, with being up 5 positions from where he started.
He took off like a rocket when this race started, really sliced and diced to get up there. We'll see what happens as the run goes on to see if that maybe hurt his tires a little bit more than some of the others, but holding in 3rd right now, which is good. And we have a yellow on the track, Sean.
We do, and I believe that it's going to be Zach Deuscher back here. A lot of damage on that car.
I saw a playoff driver's name drop really far. I think that was Aaron Gerwitz. Yeah, he's sideways still. Got some rear end damage on that machine. Both cars look like they got beat up pretty well. That 2 car is crunched like a tin can.
Let's find out what happened between these two, if it was in fact between these two.
Street Journal bringing us the wreck replay here, which we didn't get to see last night. See it tonight.
And so actually Gerwitz got into the back of Mike Lipicki there in the 46, and then a little bit of damage going on. There's Devin Zimmerman in the 33 as well.
Yeah, there's considerable damage to that 33 car. Front clip is missing. This is one of those things, you want to have that bottom line here at Texas in 3 and 4, and so everybody's going to shoot for it, and if you're not entering on the same plane, or you're not sure what those other guys around you are entering, that this is just a product of it. It jams up, and there's multiple guys fighting for the same space, and that's what looked like happened right there. It looks like Lipicki was just entering higher than Gerwitz, and they're fighting for that same line, and they made contact, and the other guys were so close behind him, there's nothing they can do.
Yeah, Gerwitz looked like he might be okay until this hit right there from Devin Zimmerman. Nothing that Zimmerman can do about that. I mean, you're going so fast, there's no way to just completely slow it down. So not really Zimmerman's fault on that, but everybody did get out there and pit. James Shea will have taken 2 tires on this stop, and so he will move up into the 1st position.
It's a bold strategy to 2 tires. We'll see how it works out. I'm curious. We didn't think about that at all last night, but you know, we didn't have a chance to think about strategy running all those green flag laps. We kind of had to do it on the fly. Keith looks like he either missed a box or played strategy or did something, because now he's up here on the apron. I don't know if he just missed everything. It looks like he might come down this time. But yeah, everybody's coming down for service here, and you know, with the tire fall off, that's probably what you're going to have to do every time you run about 10 or more laps under green.
Yeah, I think he must have missed it completely just because I'm not registering any pit stop for him at all here. So he will dive in. Not necessarily a bad thing for him because he's going to have that one extra lap of fuel from everyone else. So if we do get a long green flag run and get green flag pit stops, that one extra lap of fuel could mean the difference between being in first or second.
Every lap makes a difference, and we see it week in and week out when it comes to some of these strategy races, and I have a feeling this one's going to come down to that. So that might work out well for him, but James is still going to have the lead here. Going to have his teammate lining up right beside him here, Matthew Robinson.
Yeah, I mean, if we get another fairly quick caution, so that caution took 15, 16 laps there, but if we get another caution in 15 or 16 laps, this is going to be a really good move for Shane Wolf. If it goes green and we get a green flag pit stop, he is going to be struggling towards the second half of this.
Yeah, I think that car on the 2 tires is just going to be a handful either way. It might have enough speed in it, but it's going to be tough to drive. He's going to be elbows up on that thing, but he's one of those drivers that you kind of got to swing for the fences. The point deficit is so high that you have to try to do something to make something happen. And this is his first attempt, so he's definitely taking a swing here.
Definitely. Now, his teammate Matthew Robinson is on his right side there, and then Tristan Bailey and Rhett Tucker make up the second row. So a couple of our playoff drivers. Rhett Tucker really needing a great race to get in, and he is putting one on right now, up 4 positions from where he started.
Yeah, that run was the perfect amount of time for how hard he's pushed his tires, so we'll see what he does this time. Getting ready to restart here. This restart zone, it's a nice flat area. If you're the leader, you have a little bit better vision than everybody else. You see that right there. The leader's pretty much always able to jump out pretty well here at Texas.
Yeah, but just like you were saying a little bit earlier, just because you jump out to that big old lead doesn't necessarily help you in the long run, just because you are going to burn a lot more fuel. And depending on how you do this lead, you may burn more tires.
Yeah, if you don't manage that gap behind you, it can turn into a problem. You can find that you're pushing yourself way too hard, way too early. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. And we'll see how quick the other guys reel him in, since he's only on 2 tires. We'll see if this is a viable strategy towards the end of the race. He might be taking notes now for maybe what he can do if there's a late race caution.
Taking a look here at Nathan De La Rosa in the Glitch Energy car in the number 66 here. There was a nice little cluster around him, but it seems to have sorted itself out. But Greg Oleg down on the inside here of Corey Saucier. And Greg, again, just really, really needs a good race here. Now, his main competition, Seth Reid, all the way down at 13th right now. So, obviously, just swapping spots on that pit stop.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to Seth Reid on pit road, but that's a considerable amount of spots lost. But whenever you're pitting everybody under caution, if you slide through your box, that can cost you a lot. So, slight error there, possibly. You might have to go back and see what happened, but good for him. This is only 20 laps into the race. We got a long way to go.
Yeah, I'm taking a look at those pit lane times, and Seth Reid was 2 seconds slower than pretty much everybody on pit lane. And so just had a really bad pit lane as far as getting down that pit road.
Yeah, that just sounds like he slid through his box. And it can happen here, your tires are worn, and sometimes, especially here at Texas, you put a lot of rear brake bias in it to get that front end a little freer, and you have to brake getting in one, you're not slamming the front down. All you're doing is braking enough to get that front end settled. If you have a lot of rear braking in it, it's real tough getting in your pit box.
Now Rhett Tucker looking to the inside of James Shea, trying to take the lead here on those 4 fresh tires. I think we can already see Shane Wolf is having a tough time keeping it there on the bottom of the track.
Yeah, it's going to push a little bit for him, and it's also going to be a little bit loose. It's kind of the battle that you fight when you take 2 tires. It throws the balance of that race car off. But we looked at it, took him 3 laps to lose the lead. So if we're at the end of the race and Shane Wolf is up towards the front and there's going to be a restart with about, 3 or 4 laps and everybody's going to come to pit road anyway, maybe that's a strategy you can pull then. Add that to the notebook, though.
Yeah, and he's not giving up the spot very easily. He's going to dip down to the inside and try to get that spot back away from Rhett Tucker.
He kind of has to, because his best move right now is to run that car as hard as it can go, because the more he backs off, the bigger the gap is going to be, the delta between lap times between him and the guys with fresher tires. So he's got to push that thing as hard as he can and hope a yellow comes out for his favor.
going back a little ways, Vincent Cortez on the inside of Nathan De La Rosa, but he's also got Jordan Bain right in front of him too, so he's got to decide what he wants to do here. Does he just want to push Jordan Bain and kind of get in line, or does he actually want to try to make a move on the straightaway?
This is tough, because you want to be on the bottom to make passes, but you can hang on the top, so sometimes you kind of get stuck too wide for a while, and that can cause havoc, but you just see that the momentum you carry into 3 and out of 4 is big for passing zones, and so it's not uncommon to get cars stuck side by side like that for a few laps.
Here's some side-by-side driving as Tristan Bailey goes to the inside of James Shanewolf to put him another position down, and so we just have to see if this thing stays green. If it does stay green, I think Shane Wolf is probably going to fall back maybe even further than where he was going into the pits.
Yeah, that difference in tires is just going to keep getting bigger and bigger as time goes on, and so you'll just see him lose touch of the guys in front of him more and more, and so this has the looks it's going to go green a little bit more, kind of like we did at the start of the race, so I don't think that strategy is going to work for him this time, but he does know now how long he can stay with it and what that car feels like with 2 tires if he needs to use that strategy at the end of the race.
And most people don't practice a two-tire pit stop and what the car does afterwards, because you typically don't have enough cars around you to really know, while you're practicing at least, to really know what's going to happen there. And so it's basically just a swing for the pits. And if it works, then you're a genius. If it doesn't work, then you're not.
Yeah, that trial and error. Some of the what a team can do for you, Sean, is when you guys have a practice, you can have one teammate run a full run, one teammate do qualifying trim, one teammate run on 2 tires, and then compare notes and talk about how the car feels and what the lap times look like. And so sometimes you can take advantage of your teammates, and having a good team culture is definitely a big part of that, to make you to where when we get to the race, you have that full notebook. You know what to expect, what your possible strategies are, what your options are. That way it's not a shock when, okay, I need 2 tires here, I can do it, and I know exactly what's going to happen.
Well, I know somebody that will disagree with you wholeheartedly. Rhett Tucker does not have a teammate out there on the track, but he is putting it to everybody. He is over a second ahead of Tristan Bailey in second place.
Sean, this is a really good audition he's putting on right here for a team to scoop him up next year, and his inbox might have a few messages in it if he's able to keep this run going, because you don't see it often that drivers that run independent and run this strong stay independent for very long.
Definitely a solid driver, has been for the past 2 seasons that he's been with the Speed Racing Network. So definitely not a shock to see him up towards the front, doing exactly what he needs to do right now to have a shot to make it into the next round.
When you're outside looking in, that's what you want to see right there. Out front, got a little gap, nothing out in front of you. The thing about it is, we still have 80 laps left in this race, so as good as it looks right now, he's got to stay with it, stay focused, and make sure he keeps that strategy tight.
So he's got to worry about people like Greg Olenek back here in 8th position. Now keep in mind, Greg came into this race 9 points ahead of Rhett Tucker, so as it sits right now, Rhett Tucker would make it in, based on that at least, if this all holds true, because you get 3 bonus points for winning the race.
That is big. Bonus points are big however you can get them. Lead a lap, lead a bunch of laps, or win the race. So Rhett Tucker's putting himself in the best position right now to take advantage of what's happening behind him, but guys like Greg Olenek know exactly what's going on, so they're going to push as hard as they can, but do it smart. Sean, you always talk about this, and you might elaborate on it a little bit. You got to be aggressive, but you still have to be smart.
Yeah, I mean, there's a big difference between aggression and being out of control. Aggression is simply just forcing somebody to make a decision that they don't want to make. And that's aggression. When you get out of control, not only do you force them to make that decision, but you make it a no-win situation for that person. And so when that happens, that's when wrecks happen.
That's right. You don't want to put yourself in a bad spot, especially if you're somebody that, like Greg, who came in here a little bit above the cut. You don't want to risk it or have anything go wrong. So you got to be smart about your aggression, not just put yourself out in a reckless situation and throw away your chance at running for a championship next week.
Oh, I mean, definitely. And one person that can truly attest to that is Devin Zimmerman. He missed the second round of the playoffs because he was going for the win. He didn't need to go for the win, and by going for the win, he actually ended up wrecking out of that race with a few laps to go. And so definitely one of those things where, hindsight being 20/20, obviously he regrets that decision, but it's just something that's ingrained in a racer that you really, really just want to win every time.
You just have to fight that innate sense to go out there and try to win every race, and it's tough. It's tough to dial it back because mentally, when you strap into your sim and you hold onto that racing wheel, you want to go out there and dominate and lead every lap, but sometimes that's not all you need to do. So, good example there. We saw that earlier in the year with Zimmerman, but now we have a 3-car race up here up front for the lead.
Yeah, we also talked about it a little bit earlier in this race with Greg Olenek, where he's just always that guy that is right there on the cut line every single time. He is not one that's going to blow your doors off every single race, but he doesn't have to either. All he has to do is make it into the top 5 to get into the championship race. Then he'll try to blow your doors off.
That, and he knows that we're racing for $500. This race winning is paying what, Sean? 30? So 500 or 30? What would you rather have a shot at?
Well, being an accountant, I would definitely say the 500.
There we go. So that's Greg being Greg. He's being smart. He knows what he's racing for and how to get there. Now we have a battle for the lead, and Rhett Tucker, we saw him jump out to a large gap right there, and you just wonder if he ran his stuff a little too hard, and these guys behind him were able to save a little something.
He's said in a few interviews before that he is not that good at saving tires, and so that could be it. But what I think he might have been doing there was, again, we had a caution on lap 15. He may have been thinking, hey, we might have another caution at about the same time frame, so let's run this thing hard and shoot for the best here.
Sean, that's what makes NASCAR and motorsports so much fun, is the strategy, the game within the game. Because he's not wrong for expecting that. That could all likelihood happen, but guess what? It could also not happen. We can go green the rest of the night. You never know. And the way you have to play strategy, both when you make your stops and how you drive your car when it's out on the track under green flag conditions, can make a big difference on the outcome of your race. And we see it every week. And so, right now he's trying to figure out, how can I save a little bit better next run? And, following somebody like Tristan Bailey, who saved a little bit more, it looks like, so far this run, that's a great person to take notes from.
Let's go back through the playoff field here. So right now, the last playoff driver on the track is Aaron Gerwitz, back here in 21st position. And so, again, he was involved in that wreck a little bit earlier. He took about 50 seconds of damage repair. It looks like his car is looking a little bit better than it did. And so he is still here on the lead lap, and he's about 9 seconds behind the leader. So, but he is still attached. So not that bad off.
No, and the only problem with what happened with his wreck is he got hit right on that back tire, which can knock the toe out of that car a little bit. And in the Xfinity series, we don't have the fast repair, so things like that are tough to get repaired and take a lot of time. That's more concerning than the cosmetic damage, because it looks like most of the cosmetic damage is on that back corner, which is going to hurt him a little bit, but not nearly as much as it would like when we saw Zimmerman's car missing the front bumper. But if he got that toe fixed and that steering wheel still straight, he'll be okay.
Next up, Tyler Markle back here, and again, he was the one that came in 10th coming into this race, so he has the biggest hill to climb with the exception of James Shea. He's sitting back here in 17th position, but the car looks pretty clean.
Yeah, it does, and you can't do anything without a clean race car is my philosophy. So I mean, he's got a little bit of something on the front there, but sometimes iRacing throws up some weird damage on these cars at weird times, because the internet is always a lovely thing. But the car looks fast. He's being conservative. He's not putting himself in danger, and maybe if the cards fall his way, he'll be okay.
Just in front of him, Bo Tiffany in the number 13. Love the paint scheme there. I believe that is a Bobby Anderson paint scheme. I could be wrong. But beautiful paint scheme, but he is still outside the cut by about 6 points, so he has got to get a move on.
Yeah, 16th, when maybe in a normal week that would be a status quo run. It's not good enough for what he needs tonight, so he's going to have to find a way to play a little bit different strategy. Maybe if we get a caution, play some tire games where you can gain some track position. he's going to have to do something, because sitting in 16th and how the field gets strung out usually on a long green flag run here at Texas, you're not going to fly by a bunch of cars. So you're going to have to figure something out.
Same thing with Seth Reid, and it looks like Tyler Markle goes through the infield. Looks like he's got some damage on that car now.
Car's not clean anymore. But you said, Sean, and I heard a couple drivers saying this when I was talking to some of them in practice earlier, that wall out of 2 and the wall out of 4 come up in a hurry. And sometimes you can slap that and take a slide through the infield grass, or the backstretch here is pretty narrow. You can take it off the inside wall pretty easily as well. So, we're getting later in the run. The front tires are starting to go away. The car's pushing up in the corner. It's easy to take it off the fence.
Yep, Seth Reid here up in 14th position. Again, 2 points outside the playoffs coming into this race. The issue with this is that his main competition, Greg Olenek, is about 5 spots ahead of him right now.
Yeah, he's going to have to keep battling back. And, right now I like where he's sitting because there's not cars that close to him. You look a little bit in front of him, there's a gaggle of race cars just stuck right here in this pack. They're all fighting for that bottom. So, he's sitting back here just watching this all unfold, staying out of trouble, keeping that nose clean, letting this sort itself out before he gets there.
One of those cars in the gaggle is Adrian Schumacher himself. Now, Adrian is looking pretty good as far as points are concerned. He's 16 points to the good right now. So for him to be in 10th place, that should be enough to keep him in that hunt. So he might just be kind of biding his time.
Yeah, and whenever you're stuck in a bundle of cars like this, sometimes you're using too much tire because you're putting so much wheel into it, trying to get around these guys, or if they're pinching, you try to avoid them. And it can wreak havoc, especially on a longer run, because it can take so much out of those tires. But it's also nerve-wracking when you have a car that close to you, because you never know what that other guy's going to do. And so sometimes you got to do what Adrian's doing right here. Sit back behind these guys that are battling for a few laps. Let them sort it out before you get there. That way, by the time you get there, there's an easier passing lane through.
Well, the other problem is you got James Shane Wolf in front of you that only took 2 tires on that stop. So you don't really know how that car is going to react. And again, Shane Wolf came in 11th place in the points coming into this thing, 22 points back. So he had to swing for the fence. It just didn't work out for him.
Not this time at least, but he could surely play that strategy again if he wants. But not lucky for him, I should say. The caution didn't fall his way, so it is what it is. He'll learn from this and move on. But he's doing a good job of keeping that car up on pace. We got Seth Reid coming down. He's pitting a little early, Sean.
Yeah, pit stops have begun here, and I'm not sure if this is really early or not, because you're looking at 110 laps. Everybody pitted on lap 15. And so if you divide that out into into thirds from there, I think this is pretty close to that pit window.
Yeah, it's just on the earlier side of that window, I'd say, because I think most of these guys can go 3 or 4 more on fuel. But that tire advantage that 81 is going to have is going to be a lot better than his competition coming off. Rhett Tucker's going to bring himself down pit road now. He probably saw that 81, which is he's competing with to get in that playoff fight. He saw him come down. He knew he couldn't give up that much time to him, so he's going to come get his service as well.
Yeah, and that might help him out in the long run. Jumping back to those playoff drivers, Greg Olenek, 2 points to the good right now, doing exactly what he needs to do, as all 5 of the guys that are inside the cut right now are in front of all 6 of the guys that are outside the cut. That is exactly what needs to happen for those guys to make it through.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what he wants to do as strategy, because if I saw these guys that were fighting to get in the playoffs pit, I probably would have come down too, to just make sure you don't lose that much time to them. However, Greg is staying out a little bit longer. He could get lucky and catch a caution here, or when he does make his pit stop and come back off, he's going to have fresher tires than those guys and most likely run them down. So kind of pick your battles.
Vincent Cortez just doing Vincent Cortez things. He is up here in the top 5, and that's pretty much where he's been all season long. He is relatively safe in the points right now, so I don't think he should have too much trouble here tonight, just kind of hanging out where he's at.
Yep, just making sure that 69 Ford Mustang finishes the race is the key to his race. So doing all he needs to do right here, keeping it clean, staying out of trouble, which is half the battle.
Then we got Jordan Bain up here in 2nd position. He's also 2nd position in the points. So this is perfect for him. If he just stays in 2nd the rest of the time, he will punch his ticket to next week.
Yeah, and he's been our guy we've watched be really good week in and week out. So if he advances into that championship race next week, I think he's going to be one of our favorites. So doing all he needs to do to make that possible right here tonight.
Tristan Bailey has almost a 2-second lead over him, and he is definitely solidly in the playoffs if the points were to stop right here, right now, because he would be the winner of this race. So we'll see if he can maintain that for the rest of the race. But those are our 11 playoff drivers. A lot of drivers out there.
And Sean, now that we have a little bit more data on lap times here, because we've had green flag pit stops, here's the difference between Tristan Bailey's lap time right now and Seth Reid's lap time, when we saw pit. A 1.5-second difference a lap is the difference in tires.
Oh, you just saw briefly there, Aaron Gerwitz misses his pit box. He is definitely going to need to improve that because he is already falling behind and he needs all the points he can get. Greg Olenek getting his pit stop in now.
Yes, he is. And like I just said, with the 1.5 you're giving up by staying out right here per lap, that's a lot of time on the racetrack. Now, when Greg gets back out on the track, he's going to be running him back down with faster times. But, you know, maybe when we get closer to the next cycle pit stops, Greg might have to consider how much time he's given up staying out so long and maybe play a little bit more defense on points.
Funny thing is, before this race, I promised Greg Olenek that I would not pick him for this race because of the broadcaster's curse, and then I went off and picked him. So he's going to hate me regardless. I
guess so, but he might love you, Sean, if he ends up making the cut. So we'll see. We have about 60 more laps to find out.
Bo Tiffany making his scheduled pit stop, and now the top 4, all guys that are inside the top 5 of the playoffs. So now everybody's just waiting on them. But the longer they stretch this thing out, the better they are going to be towards the end of this race.
Yeah, they're going to have fresher tires at the end and be able to put together faster lap times. But, you know, running them down is a whole nother thing, because you might come back out on track and realize how much you lost by staying out, but you can't. Oh, Greg Olenek is in the middle of the infield here.
What happened there? We're gonna have to go back and look.
Yeah, that's big, because he was the driver that was just in the cut by 2 points, and I'm sure he lost more than 2 positions taking that slide through the grass right there.
Taking a look at the wreck replay brought to you by BeerStreetJournal.com. Always remember to please drink responsibly, and he just loses it coming off the turn.
Yeah, he just got that pit stop, so did he touch pit road there? Because that could be a black flag if he did. I don't know if the admins clear that or not, but maybe more problems for Greg. But yeah, he just came off pit road. He was on cold tires, and that's the danger. But that goes into what I was just saying is, you come off of pit road, realize how much time you lost. You got to be careful and not push it really, really hard and wreck it or take too much out of your tires early because you're worried about how much time you gave up.
Well, Joshua Marcy leads his race. Now he's going to dive into pit road. Now Daniel Keith from Highline Racing is going to be the leader here, as it looks like Aaron Gerwitz is going to make that pass to get back on the lead lap. Daniel Keith not really racing for too terribly much right now. He is in that second tier playoff, but he's a little bit far behind. So he definitely needs a good race here tonight to even have a shot at it. But once he pits, Rhett Tucker will resume our leader.
Which is going to be this lap, because I just heard on the radio that 23 car will be coming down for service this time. So Rhett should cycle back out to the lead this time by, and we'll see how big that gap is. We'll see how much of an advantage Seth Reid was able to gain by pitting early, which, if my scoring monitor is correct and we cycle back here, Seth Reid will be back up to the 4th position. So you think about where he pitted from and where he just came out. That's the difference on being able to short pit and take advantage of those fresher tires for a few laps while the other guys are out there on older tires. However, the flip side is Seth Reid's not going to have as good a tires as we wind towards the end of this run.
Yeah, he's got a 3.5-second lead over Tristan Bailey, who's in 4th here. So, in 5th. So just kind of keep an eye on that because that lead between Seth Reid and Tristan Bailey is rapidly diminishing. You can see it over there on the left side of the screen, as now it is under 3 seconds between those two. That is how much difference 9 laps of tires is.
Yes, and my scoring is showing that it's about 2 to 3 tenths a lap faster, so that's pretty considerable. And you know, as we still have 50 laps left in this race, that's a lot of time. So We'll see what happens, but yeah, that's the gap we're going to have to watch. We're also going to have to watch Rhett Tucker's gap. We're going to have to see if he realizes that he has about 5 seconds on second. If he backs this off here and saves his tires a little bit better than he did the run before.
Yeah, you can see here the time difference on laps 59 and 60. We're about to see 61, and there's another 0.7 of a second that Bailey has caught up to Seth Reid. So hitting that 9 laps earlier, yes, it helped him get some track position, but if he wants to keep that track position, he's going to need a very well-timed caution.
Which really works if there's a caution. However, from what I'm seeing right now and from what we experienced last night, once the field gets strung out like this, if there's an issue, it's usually one car, and sometimes that doesn't always trigger a yellow. So it's going to be kind of tough sledding, I think, for that 81 car unless he can catch a caution, because you see how fast the 88's caught him since we started talking about that situation, how much time he's going to give up to everybody else as well.
Somebody that desperately needs a caution right now, Greg Olenek, from going through the infield there, just kind of losing it off that turn. All the way back in 20th place now. He is 27 seconds behind the leaders at this point. And so if he stays where he is right now, he will be out of the playoffs.
It's not what Greg wanted to see, not what we wanted to see as fans of Greg and colleagues as well, as he's our broadcaster on Wednesday nights. But this race is far from over, so there's still some time, and he's just going to have to change his strategy a little bit. But I think the most important thing for him is to do everything he can to stay on the lead lap.
Yeah, if he can stay on that lead lap and get any type of caution at all, then definitely that is going to be A-OK for him. And this being his favorite track, I have no doubt that he'll be able to drive through the pack if he can get caught up to that main pack. But right now, sincerely struggling. But Rhett Tucker, 3.5 seconds ahead of Matthew Robinson. Matthew pitted 2 laps after Rhett Tucker, so you're going to see that lead diminish slightly.
Yeah, when I talked about maybe Rhett needs to back off, we were talking about a 5-second lead, which is about 4 or 5 laps ago. Now we're talking about just over a 3-second lead, so considerable difference in laps, about 4 or 5 tenths a lap. So he's going to catch him fairly quickly. Probably pass him fairly quickly if we're talking the lap time difference that big. But if I'm Rhett Tucker, I'm definitely considering splitting this run in half to the end of this race, because otherwise you're just going to either give up too much or risk too much trying to gain on better tires at the end. Unless we have a caution, of course. But if we go green, as this race is picturing to right now, I would definitely play the strategy of splitting this last run in half.
Let's shift gears just a little bit here, because JW Racing right now is putting on an absolute clinic out there. 2nd place, 5th place, 6th place, and 7th place for JW Racing right now.
Yeah, that's incredible to see. We talk so much about the team aspect of Speed Racing Network, and how that is one of the things that makes this set of leagues unique is how we work as teams, how we earn team points, how we share sponsors, communicate, share notes, and your stronger teams, or maybe that has a driver that's stronger at a certain track, they're all going to run well. When one driver has that little bit of extra information that might help, or you have a team practice or what have you. So this is just a component of what we're seeing, the strong run by them tonight, and why there's such a force in that team playoff is simply because they're able to put races together like this.
Yeah, his teammate James Shane Wolf, who, again, basically has to win this race and hope that other things happen. He is back up to 7th place after taking that 2-tire stop. So really, grand scheme of things, it might not have been that bad of a call.
Maybe not. This is why we wait to see what happens with these strategies as they play off. Because now he's back equal, because he was able to stay out as long as everybody else that last run. So, yes, he gained the track position. However, 7th place is still not enough for him to move on, but it's definitely trending in the right direction from where he started.
Rhett Tucker getting it done right now, but that lead has gotten down to 1.8 seconds now. And so Tristan Bailey is just getting closer and closer and closer. And if Tristan can catch Rhett Tucker here, I don't think that Rhett is going to be too much of a competition to get past there, because, again, 8-lap fresher tires.
Yeah, that lap time difference is too big for him to really contest. Now, if Rhett doesn't want to give him the bottom and kind of holds up that preferred groove, it could take a little bit longer for Tristan to get around, but I think he's going to catch him and go right by him. Man, we're getting into that window where you can make it from here if you want. So the pit window is open. When do you come? If I'm Rhett Tucker, maybe as soon as I give up that lead, I might consider coming because I'm going to need those fresher tires to run him back down, or at least play the position of track position and jump him again. So it'll be interesting to see what strategy that 99 plays once he gives up that lead, because he's going to give it up. It's a matter of time.
Yeah, and I think you're exactly right. Once he loses that first position, there's no reason to keep fighting just to stay in second. He has to have this win, and so that's the only option for him, I do believe.
Yeah, and if this thing goes green, I think that's your best bet. And Seth Reid in 8th, he's still having a good run, taking advantage. We saw him because he pitted a little early, and we saw him drop. Had cycled when everything cycled back out. He was in 4th, and now he's back to 8th, which is still in a good spot playoff-wise for him, all things considered, because he struggled with Greg Olenek as of recently. However, if I'm Seth Reid, I'm going to want to get a little bit more, because Rhett Tucker's winning this race right now, and the math works in my head. I believe that puts him ahead of Seth Reid with the bonus points. But all things considered, we don't know till the race is over, so he needs to try and get as many positions as he can. And if I see that 99 pit and I'm that 81, I might come at the same time.
Rhett Tucker has been caught by Tristan Bailey. Tristan Bailey got that inside line, and he is going to zoom right past, like Rhett is standing still. So let's see what Rhett does at this point. Maybe one more lap out there, and we'll possibly see him come in to try to take that swing at it.
It's a 35-lap run to the end here, Sean, which is well within the pit window and a pretty decent window on tires. So if I'm that 99, a crew chief, a spotter, a team owner, what have you, well, I guess he's his own team owner here. I might make that call to come down pit road within the next couple laps.
Keep an eye on that, as Tristan Bailey has already opened up a 6/10 of a second lead on him. Seth Reid, the first of our playoff drivers to go into pits for probably the last time.
And I like this strategy because the 35 laps isn't that bad on your tires as far as lap times. You're still going to be somewhat competitive there, but he's going to be able to jump a bunch of spots again. So he's just trying to get as many points as possible, just like I talked about a few minutes ago, because he needs all he can get, just in case something crazy happens and somebody sneaks up and wins this race. He was right outside that cut, but he needs to make sure he can bank as many points as possible.
Going back to touch on the Greg Olenek versus Seth Reid little contest here that we have going on, this is the time that if a caution came out, that it would save Greg's life, because now Seth Reid is basically a lap down, and Greg is still on that lead lap. So if a caution came out right now, it would save Greg Olenek's bacon.
That, and I think the only strategy for Greg here is to, I was going to say stay all the way out because you're going to go a lap down, but
what do we know?
I think he saw that 81. I don't know anything. He saw that 81 pit. I guess he thought he should come down, at least be on the same strategy. But if I were him, I probably would have stayed out. Rhett Tucker's doing what we just talked about. We said we needed to bring it down in a few laps, and here he is. But back to Greg. If I was Greg, I probably would have stayed out because I need a caution either way to get all the way back up there, and I'd rather be still out on the track if that happens. So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. Maybe he knows something we don't.
Greg only taking 2 tires, so he is taking the swing for the fence that he needs to take. Again, going to be very difficult. We saw that with James Shane Wolf. Hopefully he knows what he's doing out there, but I don't think he has a choice at this point.
I agree, he doesn't have a choice. But, Seth Reid could take a slide through the grass too, and this could be a whole new ball game. So you never know. You just try to go out there and get every position you can get. Right now, Lennox scored 4 positions behind Seth Reid, so that would swap those two. But we'll see. Greg's had a little bit more pace, I think, throughout the day. So even though he just took 2 tires, it's going to be interesting to see if he can get past more cars than Seth Reid.
Yeah, I'm going to say he's only 14 seconds behind Seth Reid right now. And 14 seconds is a long, long way, but it was 27.
And also, how many cars can you fit in that 14-second gap is going to be the key, because each position's a point. Seeing Nathan bring that glitch energy super down pit road there. And he's going to try to get every position he can, but he doesn't want to see a bunch of cars between him and Seth, because that means Seth has gained a bunch more points.
So we're going to let this pit cycle run out here, and we're going to see exactly where everybody falls, because it's kind of a mess right now. When you have basically 10 laps between the first person pitting and the last person pitting, it's going to create all sorts of problems on the track.
Yeah, you're going to have guys staying out this full run like Tristan Bailey is probably going to do, 'cause that's what he did the first time. Bold strategy, but, he's in the playoffs right now. He is just trying to get all he can. Brandon Domingue bringing that 20 car down pit road here to get some service. But we also saw guys pit early, so the other thing that happens when you have this altering pit strategy on a green flag run is, we talked about the second half to a second lap time difference a lap. That's a really big closing rate. You can come up on these guys really fast, and that can be dangerous, and that can create a caution. So we have to keep a close eye on these guys as they battle.
Yeah, Tristan Bailey already with 2 wins this season, one at Auto Club and one at Nashville. So a little bit, a couple of different types of racetracks there. So that just shows how well-rounded and fast he is overall.
Yeah, and he's one that I always think of being consistent. It seems like we touch on him at least once every week for doing something, being close to the front, and that's why he's currently in the playoff cut.
James Shea coming in possibly for the last time this evening.
Yeah, he's been on the upside of the track position battle so far, and he's going to look to continue that. So we'll see what happens here. Obviously not going to be good enough to get him in where he's running right now, but we still have enough of this race left that something crazier could happen. Jordan Bain, one of our stronger drivers in the playoffs. He's clocked off a couple wins and definitely led a lot of laps in the playoffs. He's doing pretty good today, running second, doing all he needs to do to move on. I'm
going to throw a quick little scenario at you that I just kind of realized. Bo Tiffany was only 6 points outside the cut coming into this race. So Seth Reid was 2 points out. So Bo would basically have to beat Seth by 4 points and then beat Greg Olenek by 6 points. Currently, he is doing exactly that. So if this race were to end right here, right now, Bo Tiffany would be moving on.
And we have to think about, because Tiffany still has to make a pit stop. Where's he going to cycle out? Because that's going to create the points battle. And you see him right there behind Seth Reid, but Seth Reid is still a lap down because he's already pitted. When he comes down for a service, wherever that 13 car comes off pit road is going to be really important, because he's going to come off pit road, be a little bit faster. He's going to be able to gain a few extra spots on where he was when he came back down. So Aaron Gerwitz, one of our drivers outside looking in, he's coming down to get his service. But we'll definitely have to keep an eye on when that 13 car pits and where he cycles out.
Drew Ballesteros and Michael Larch for JW Racing, both of them pitting right now, as well as Nathan Nixon coming in to pit for his team as well for Rev Reloaded.
That's right, Sean. And Sean, if you would, let's pan over to that 35 car, Josh Marcy. He's one of our JBR drivers this year, running a special paint scheme tonight. The Mission 22 program, they're a nonprofit that works with veterans to prevent veteran suicide and support programs for them. And we have 2 veterans that race for us at JBR, and we're appreciative of their service and the service of all the military members out there. And we love running this paint scheme. It's special to us for the personal reasons that we have drivers that have supported this program and brought it to us, but also all our military service families out there. We are grateful for you, and this is our sign of support.
Absolutely. Love the way that all of our drivers, not just your team in particular, but all of our drivers really support these charities and support these great causes, and they use their paint schemes to do that. And the more that happens out here, just the better look it is, not just on us, but the better awareness it brings up for those causes as well.
We try to use our platform for good and do whatever we can with it, and it's been great for them, it's been great for us, and we're grateful for it. And like you said, Sean, it's amazing when like Veterans Day came around and you panned the SRN field and you just saw a bunch of patriotic paint schemes. There's nothing better to see.
Oh boy, Jordan Bain going through the infield, coming back on the track. This could get bad.
Oh wow, that 54 car almost was underneath the 28 there. a little more graceful than Greg's slide through the grass, but we've had a couple of those tonight.
Let's go back and find out if it really was as graceful, because I see him going off and on the track about 3 different times on my scoreboard. So
you missed the first part of it, I guess.
let's just find out what happened here. Yeah, he lost it just like Greg did.
Whoa, man, he did a really good job of not overcorrecting it. And
Yeah,
that's uneven right there. When he gets back through there, it's tough to get it back on the track. Watch this 54. Ooh,
great job by Drew Ballesteros.
Great job avoiding it, and great job by everybody getting through that unscathed.
Yeah, we don't have that many cautions in this race, so we got to get those Beer Street Journal rec replays in whenever we can.
And also, Sean, Bo Tiffany has stayed out long enough to lead a lap, which is a bonus point. So that also adds another point in his favor with this whole strategy scenario that's playing out.
Absolutely, and again, he has not pitted yet. Neither has Joshua Marcy there in second place, or Vincent Cortez there in third. Those are the only 3. Actually, Dylan Patterson in 6th is just now coming into the pits, but those other 3 are the only 3 that have not pitted on this cycle yet.
If I look at the scoring monitor right now, before the guys that just pitted cycle, Seth Reid's in 9th and Greg Olenek is in 16th. So that gap is big enough to where Greg Olenek would lose that spot to Seth Reid on points. However, Bo Tiffany is still holding the cards in his hand right now.
With only 19 laps to go until those final 5 spots are decided. Now, just so everybody knows, if there is a tie on the cut line, we will allow the 6th driver in as well. So if there is a tie for some way, somehow, then both the drivers get in.
You know, we're supposed to have 10 and we have 11, so why not? Let's go ahead and have 6 next week. It seems to be a running theme here. Bo Tiffany, though, he's coming to pit road right here. Wow, he was coming in really hot.
Yeah, locks it up. I'm not wow.
That's close.
That's really close.
That's really close. I'm getting it in there really hard. Josh Marcy will take that 35 car out to the lead, though, and sport those Mission 22 colors up front for at least a lap, but he's probably going to have to come down for service here shortly.
As he goes around, Rhett Tucker basically takes the 2nd position, which will eventually become the lead if Joshua Marcy does get into pits.
Yeah, he will cycle back out to the point here. Tristan Bailey will cycle back out behind him about 6.5 seconds back. So that gap grew a little bit from where it was before everybody pitted, which was just because Rhett Tucker was able to get on pit road just a couple laps sooner than the 88. But the 88 will be a hard charger back up to this 99, which we could have a close battle for the finish playing out if the math works out correctly, because Tristan Bailey's catching him by about a little under half a second a lap, and so he's probably going to get there close to when we're about to wrap up this race.
Yeah, it is going to be really, really tight getting there to the end. And again, Rhett is going to do everything he possibly can to keep Tristan behind him.
Yeah, and that's a 10-lap difference on those tires, Sean, for reference. So Tristan Bailey's tires are 10 laps newer than Rhett Tucker's, which is a considerable amount of time. So he's definitely going to catch him. It's just a matter of how quick can he do it.
Back up front with Joshua Marcy, who is going to run this puppy dry. There's no reason not to.
Yeah, why not? You know, not in the playoffs. We're not in the team championship in the Xfinity series. So, you know, get that car some screen time and feel that thing out up front and shoot your shot. Who knows what might happen. Gordon Bain has recovered from his grass incident. He is back into the 5th spot.
Yeah, and he has enough of a cushion there that didn't hurt him nearly as badly as it hurt Greg Olenek. Vincent Cortez, he is back behind Greg Olenek now. Now, again, he's got a big enough cushion that it doesn't make that big of a difference. You know, being as far out in front as he was, I think he's going to be okay, even if he does finish here in 18th.
Yeah, I wonder, something must have happened. I mean, he has some damage on that car, so something obviously happened to the car, but something must have happened getting on pit road too, because that was sure a lot of time to lose from where he was running originally.
Yeah, Bo Tiffany slotted 3 spots behind Greg Olenek, and now he is 8 spots behind Seth Reid. So it was just the fact that he stayed out as long as he did that gave him that big of a gap on the point standings, but looks like it might run out for him.
And Bo Tiffany, he is the fastest car on the track right now, which helps his situation. However, the yellow is coming out. And Josh
wow.
Marcy's going to be the leader with the yellow. The 51 car has no hood, and he's going backwards through the grass. So that's probably not a good sign.
Yeah, Seth Reid went through the grass. It looks like, all sorts of damage going on here. So let's go to a rec replay, find out what happened there.
No hood, so he definitely hit something.
I'm seeing Nathan De La Rosa goes off the track here.
There was a cluster of cars running right there. Something happened.
Oh, it happened in front of him. That's Dylan Patterson.
Ooh. Yeah, he got some damage, considerable damage. Oh, he took a couple hard licks right there. I'm guessing the 51 got into him too, and that's what caused that damage. It's never good when you're going through a corner and you can read the door number of the guy sitting sideways on the track in front of you.
Oh, and he just loses it also. That same spot. Oh, let's see who else. Oh, yeah, huge
that was a hard
hit.
lick. There's not going to be much racing left in that 51 car, I believe. That's going to be a lot of damage to that thing. So, interesting note here. I'm not sure if Greg Olenek was back on the lead lap or not after the cycle. But Seth Reid is, even though he went through the grass, he's back on the lead lap. So we'll have to wait and see. Maybe Greg will take the wave, or maybe he's the lucky dog. But if those two are on the same lap, we still have a very juicy battle for that points cutoff.
We certainly do. I see him on the lead lap right now. Greg Olenek is.
Okay. Well, the leader
he has not pitted. Yeah, he has not pitted, so he may have been the lucky dog.
He looks like he's the lucky dog because he's flying around everybody.
And a lucky dog he is to be back on the lead lap.
This is gonna be good. We got 10 to go, and both the bubble drivers are back on the lead lap. Oh, Sean, this is we don't expect anything less.
This is the way to do it, man. This is the way to end the playoffs going into the championship. This is we couldn't have hoped for anything better. Joshua Marcy is sitting pretty right now, showing as the leader. Great strategy by him, and another Jonathan Beyer Racing driver that just has impeccable pit strategy.
Yeah, Sean, there must be something to it. Somebody on that team must know what's going on. No, I'm just kidding. But no, we work really hard on the analytics and the strategy and what to expect in these races and what the best way is to attack them. And so that's why when it comes down to strategy and stuff like that, you see some of the JBR cars and trucks run well. So I'm happy to see him run well. He was a really good driver with SRN last year, a playoff driver, in fact. Didn't have the luck this year, but he could have a really good finish tonight.
Greg Olenek going to come into the pit stalls, take his full pit stop. Now that should drop him basically to the end of this line, and so you're looking at he's going to be back in about 20th possibly. It might be a little bit better than that, but Seth Reid is up in 11th. So Greg Olenek's going to have the drive of his life in the next 9 laps.
And the lucky dog has to start at the tail end of the longest line too, Sean. So Greg's going to be behind all the lap down cars too. So Greg is going to need another caution, I do believe, to be able to get even close to that 81.
Well, not really sure because looks like he's getting out of the pits. He is still scored in the 13th position. Seth Reid in the 11th position. So only 2 spots separate them, which, again, 2 spots. 2 points is the only difference on the scoreboard.
Yeah, and since he was a lucky dog and he just came back down pit road again, it'll be interesting to see if iRacing puts him at the back or not, or how this cycles out. Because it looks like some of the other lap cars just made a stop too. So we'll wait and see how this lines up, but this definitely has the making to be quite the battle.
That is the battle that we definitely need to watch. Rhett Tucker, obviously, if he can get up and win this race, then that might throw another little monkey wrench into this thing. But the crazy part is we have to wait until the end until we see all the bonus points and stuff like that. And so it's people's calculators are going absolutely crazy right now.
And think about, Sean, if you're in that driver's seat, you can't see the points. You have no idea what's happening. You're just going to go out and try to pass every car you can and finish as high as you can. Now, with some kind of safety in the aggression, of course, but, less than 10 laps to go, raceable racetrack, everybody's on some fresh tires. This is going to be one of the best endings to a race I think we've seen this year.
Greg Olenek still only 2 spots behind Seth Reid. I see Aaron Gerwitz and company coming around to get back to that tail end. Not sure if they're going to be slotted behind or in front of Greg Olenek. I think they're going to be slotted behind him. So,
yeah, I think Greg is fine as where he is because they came back down pit road again after the lap cars pitted. So Greg is going to line up there, but he's also, I've noticed with the way it's lined up, he's behind a couple lap cars mixed in there that didn't pit, but definitely not as many as there were. So they're going to be right there next to each other.
Wow. Just wow.
But up front, we got the 35 and the 54 on the front row, which we didn't see all night so far, but they played the right strategy, and here they are.
Joshua Marcy has really kind of had a down 6 weeks, the last 6 weeks here. And so this is a very, very welcome change for him. Oh, inside line gets checked up a little bit. Seth Reid has to check up slightly. We'll see what Greg Olenek can do with it.
That's just going to help Greg get there faster. But Greg's going to have to be careful around some of these cars. There are a few cars around here that have a little bit of wow. A little bit of damage. He's got to be careful, but he's got to get past these guys as fast as possible. He's got to get to them.
Going back up front, Jordan Bain has taken the lead on the inside. You got Joshua Marcy. Oh, he did not get touched there, but definitely got loose. Rhett Tucker getting loose off the corner.
Yeah, Rhett Tucker's around.
We're going to get a yellow here.
Oh, coming back up on the track. Oh, Greg got hit. Oh, there's somebody just went all the way down in the pit lane.
That may have been Bo Tiffany, I think.
Somebody hit somebody really hard.
Oh, boy. This is going to make it even more interesting. Let's go to a rec replay.
Luckily for Greg, it looks like he got hit in the door, but yikes. Yeah, I think that was Bo Tiffany because he just got on the radio and said something, so I'm sure that had to deal with him being involved.
Oh, and Rhett Tucker just barely gets into the 54 of Drew Ballesteros. Seth Reid goes down into the infield, and Greg did get tapped there. So let's go back and let's see this from Greg's spot here, as he's got, I believe that's Nathan Nixon in front of him.
And you should have to get as low as possible here, and that's what Greg does. But I mean, he's even in the grass a little bit. Oh yeah, Nixon just that 99 was sitting right there, and it funneled down, and not bad damage though. That's Greg's car is A-okay, I'd say. Bo Tiffany, though, that thing got a little bit more front-end damage.
Seth Reid dives down into the infield to get away from this thing. Smart move by him, keeping that car clean, still staying on the track.
Smart move. He knows what he's racing for and didn't want to risk getting caught up or running over from behind. We'll take a look here at Bo Tiffany. Bo Tiffany looks like he got a little bit more damage, so he might be the worst off of these three. Let's see here. I think the right front's going to get some considerable damage.
Oh,
yeah, the right front, which is a sensitive spot on these cars, and we'll have to see if he's down on any horsepower. But if he isn't, he's just going to have to stay out there and get every point he can get, but that's definitely not going to help him out because Seth Reid is an 8th, and he's going to be the beneficiary so far.
Yeah, got hit in the back as well, so... now, Greg Olenek sitting in 9th, Seth Reid sitting in 8th. Let's take a look and see if we can find out exactly how much damage there is. I see a little bit there for Greg Olenek. I don't think it's nearly as bad as it seemed like it would be.
No, and he got hit in the door, which is good because it's not going to affect your tires with the toe and the steering. So the steering wheel is probably still straight, which is really good. That's what you want. However, how are these guys going to race each other? They know it's on the line, and we're going to have a restart with about 3 or 4 to go. So the gloves are going to come off here, and it's going to be an all-out brawl to see who can make it. And Bo Tiffany has retired from the event. That car couldn't continue.
Absolute shame for Bo Tiffany. And then looking back, it looks like Rhett Tucker getting a lot of damage repaired as well. So his season, his playoff race likely over.
Yeah, that he took a good look as well. And Sean, we talked about it earlier, and it's funny how the same storylines always get brought up, but you talked about knowing what you're racing for. Rhett Tucker didn't really have to make that move in 3 and 4 that made him get really loose, but he chose to and got loose, and kind of took himself out of the chance to make the cut.
You know, I don't know. I think there's part of him that thought that he had to make that move in order to get up to the front, and so when you're 9 points outside the cut, you've got other drivers, you know, that are right there in that battle as well. The only thing that you're thinking is, I have to win to get those 3 extra bonus points to have a prayer at this thing. And so, while hindsight being 20/20, he's probably going to look back and be like, "Man, I could have done this a little bit differently." At that particular point, not sure if he believed he had a choice.
Yeah, for me, there was just a little bit of a risky move to make right there, considering we still had 8 laps left, and he's been really, really fast. He's had good pace, and he would have got by at least 2 or 3 cars that were sitting in front of him at that time. So, I don't know. I guess you could see it both ways, but, you know, you always try to get all you can get because you never know what the points are going to look like, because you never know who got bonus points, who didn't, and what have you, or who's going to win the race for that matter. So, you know, that's the frustrating part of driving race cars is, you know, you try to do all you can, but you never know what's going to happen, and you always look back and wondering in certain situations if you could have done something differently. But, you know, he's had a good season. He's put on a good audition to be on a really good team next year, and we'll look forward to seeing him next week. Maybe not in the playoffs, but he'll definitely be a contention for a win like he is every week.
Well, the other thing to think about here, and not just for Rhett Tucker, but for everybody, this we're going to go to a natural green-white checker finish. So this is not going to be counted as a green-white checker. With everything that's on the line right now, do you think we're done?
No, we're not. Greg Olenek is starting 1 position behind Seth Reid, so who knows what might happen. But think about how many drivers that are up here right now have run up front today. 35 we saw leading there. Jordan Bain's up front. He's been fast. Adrian Schumacher was up front a little bit in the longer run. Nathan De La Rosa is sitting in 7th. He was up there. You have a lot of fast cars kind of all throughout this top 10-ish, and they're all going to be battling to try to get the win, I think, and especially those guys that have nothing to lose. So I don't think we're done.
Did Seth Reid or Greg Olenek lead a lap this race? I don't believe either of them have.
I do not think so, off the top of my head. Probably not. So, I mean, basically Seth Reid's got to beat Greg by 2 positions, so we'll see what happens.
And keep in mind, he has to beat him by 2 positions to tie him.
That's correct.
And a tie is just fine for Seth right now.
That's right. A tie is enough. Greg's got to know that as well.
Well, here we go. Going to a natural green-white checker finish. Jordan Bain's going to get a great jump just like the leaders have all night long. Drew Ballesteros with a good jump as well. Josh Marcy going to tuck into 3rd there. Corey Saucier having a great run here tonight, up in 4th.
You're doing a great job with number 19 Chevrolet. Running it well. You see Seth Reid right here. Marcy got pushed up out of the groove right there. That's not going to help the situation. He's got a little bit of damage from that wreck, but you see Greg right here. He's just going to keep that 81 in sight.
That's all he can do. And so right now, the 81 passes Josh Marcy. So now he's 2 spots ahead of Greg Olenek. Greg's got to get past Josh Marcy here. As we come to the white flag, Jordan Bain leads this race. He is looking untouchable here, but the big race is right here. Greg Olenek and Seth Reid. Greg's going to get past Joshua Marcy. That means he's only 1 spot behind Seth. Seth needs to make another pass.
You didn't see it right there, but Greg was in the grass on the front stretch trying to get around that 35. He knows what he has to do. Man, Seth's got to get something going right here. He's blocked up with all those cars battling in front of him.
He's going to tuck down to the inside.
Race. Jordan Bain's going to win. Seth Reid's not going to have enough. Greg's going to finish just 1 spot behind him.
And we're going to have to double-check all the numbers. Be sure that Seth didn't lead a lap or anything like that. But we will get those numbers to you as quickly as possible. I know that Jason Tripp, our boss, our league manager, is already trying to get those numbers in there, as everyone is going to be super anxious to figure out what's going on. But Jordan Bain wins this race. Oh, what a win, what a win.
Wow. He drove a heck of a race, and we talk about him, being a factor. And look at the other race he won, Kentucky. Pretty much a sister track to Texas in the way that the 2 corners are different and kind of are the same, but it's just on opposite ends. So strong at this style of racetrack, strong race tonight, played good strategy, got up front at the end when it counted. kept his nose clean, not a scratch on that car. Good momentum heading into next week.
Yeah, so we know for a fact Jordan Bain is in. We know for a fact that Adrian Schumacher is in. We will double check, but we're pretty sure that Vincent Cortez and Tristan Bailey are in. Now we just have to find out about Seth Reid and Greg Olenek.
Yeah, Vincent finished 11th, so he should be in good shape. But yeah, we're gonna have to check the rest to make sure. And here's the finishing result. So Jordan Bain was able to squeak out the win tonight by a little over half a second. Drew Ballesteros brought it home second. Adrian Schumacher third. Corey Saucer with a really good run tonight in fourth. And Michael Lark brought it home fifth.
Sixth place, Seth Reid. Seventh place, Greg Olenek, and that's the battle we're looking at when we get those scores in very shortly. Joshua Marcy really had a great race, just kind of fell off there at the end, finishes in eighth. Aaron Gerwitz did everything he could to get up in those playoffs, but will not be able to get there in ninth. And Brandon Domain finishes off with the top 10.
Vincent Cortez, our point leader coming into tonight, comes home 11th. Rhett Tucker, who... that's a nice rebound considering how damaged sideways and crunched up that car was on the front stretch. Came back to 12th. Michael Lipicki 13th. Nathan De La Rosa, after being strong early, had a little bit of damage at the end. He's going to come home 15th. And then our other playoff driver that was in coming into tonight, Tristan Bailey, comes home 15th.
16th place, Daniel Keith Jr. for Highline Racing. James Shane Wolf will end his playoff hunt here in 17th. And Wayne Rayburn brings it up in 18th. Oh man, I gotta breathe a little bit. This is it's a little nerve-wracking. We're waiting for those race results.
Yeah, and I'm partial because it's Texas Motor Speedway, Sean, but this is a really good cutoff track because it's a mix of strategy. You never know what's going to happen. The track is tough. It requires a lot of skill, and it put on a great race last night and a really, really good race tonight.
Well, let's see if we can't get Adrian Schumacher up here. And if you don't mind, while you're doing the interview, I'm going to try to do the math.
All right, I get to handle the interviews. I can do that.
Yeah, definitely. So let's bring him up into the booth right now.
All right, Adrian, this is Jonathan up in the booth. Sean is crunching numbers that has to do with the whole playoff thing going on. But you have finished third tonight. Tell us about your race.
Not bad for our number 2 driver, eh?
Yeah, not too bad.
Yeah, that... I don't know what to say. The last round of pit stops, I took 2 tires, and that helped me drastically, and just put myself in the position to get the podium.
Yeah, and a podium's all you needed, with your points cushion you had coming in. So, in all likelihood, you will be competing for a championship next week. We'll wait for confirmation for sure, but I think you're safe. Tell us a little bit how you feel about Atlanta next week.
I only ran it once during a league race in the past, and it was before the whole tire update, but I got a podium in that. And I have high hopes. Just hope everything goes my way.
Absolutely, we'll be excited to see you there, and hopefully it'll be a good championship battle for us. Before we let you back to your team, do you have any sponsors or anybody watching tonight you'd like to thank?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Healthcare and Billing, Chicago Heights, LiftWorks, Raise Energy, Hunter Dunn Anesthesia, ButcherBox, Teespring, Common Sense Supplements, Invader Zim Designs, and all my Take Racing teammates.
Well, good deal, Adrian. We'll see you next week. We'll return you down to your team and bring up our second place finisher here shortly, Drew Ballesteros.
Thanks, guys.
Let me get Drew Ballesteros up here. Still working on those numbers, so just very brief moment while you take care of this.
Let Sean's accounting brain do Sean's accounting things, and we'll talk to Drew Ballesteros. Drew's second place run tonight. Tell us a little bit about your race.
Yeah, this was a tough track. It took a while to kind of get the hang of it, just with their reconfiguration. I haven't spent much time on it before, but all in all, a really strong night. Got the hang of it about halfway through, taking care of that right front. I knew that was going to be crucial, but overall, great team victory today. I'm proud of what we were able to do.
Yeah, a couple JW cars up front, and we saw you guys running pretty good tonight, which helps you in the team championship format. Which is, another payout that they're doing next week. I know you aren't in the championship battle, but you're at least going to be in consideration for the team championship battle. You also bring home $20 tonight, which is also a good thing. We move on to Atlanta next week to close out the season. Tell us a little bit about, your experience this season and how you look to close it out next week at Atlanta.
Well, I'll tell you, I love this series and I love what's been going on. I know we came in late, but it's so nice to be a part of a group that has, professionalism all the way around, from the broadcast to the officials, to the overall racing, and just respect that there is on the track. I've loved it so far, and I'm excited to see what we can do next week. Atlanta's a really fun track. It's really hard on the tires. It's a driver's racetrack, so I'm confident in what I can do. I'm confident in my team, and I really believe we can bring home that team championship next week.
Well, there we go. You heard it from the man there. JW's eyeing that team championship next week. Before we return you to your team, you have any JW partners or personal racing partners you'd like to thank tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to thank my family, friends, girlfriend for watching tonight. They're with me each and every week. Also, thanks to the team sponsors, Track Racer. We came in second in a Track Racer rig. Hopefully next week we'll come in first. Thunder Valley Tavern and JW Racing, Justin Rideout for fielding us every week and making sure we need to be successful. Also, thanks to the league owners, Jason and Sean, for what they do and making this such a great league to be a part of. Flavor Bomb, Seasoning, Silverback Tax Solutions, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Sandwich Man Racing, and Sparkle and Shine for what they do to put us out on the track each and every week. And thank you guys for what you do. I'm looking forward to go back and watch the broadcast.
Thanks, man. We appreciate it. We appreciate you coming and taking the time with us, talking about your second place finish, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Sounds good. Have a good one.
All right, we will return him to his team and grab our winner, Jordan Bain, here momentarily, which Jordan Bain's been on a tear since I joined the broadcast booth, I'm just saying, so there might be something to that. But
yeah, I think it's you.
I guess.
It must be. You know what, Jordan Bain, welcome up to the booth with Jonathan and Sean. Jonathan Byer just took credit for your success lately.
I did.
I like it.
Yeah, I joined the booth and you just started going on a tear, so I'm just saying there's some correlation there. But, man, another win here tonight. You punch your ticket into the final round of the championship next week at Atlanta. You got a bunch of momentum going in. Tell us a little bit about your race tonight.
Incredible race. That was probably the most fun race I've ever won, just considering. I don't know if you guys caught my boo-boo when I was on my outlap. I was going to really race Tristan hard there at the end. I was just kind of riding around, feeling it out. Knew we'd be good. Figured a second and a half was going to be tough to make up, but felt like we might be able to do it. And, that caution. Well, first, almost wrecking through the grass. I can't believe I saved it. And then, secondly, just that last restart, 2 tires, just perfect restart. Perfect exit off 2, and that was it.
Well, sometimes things just happen that way and fall in your favor, and it did tonight. And you'll take these, of course. You'll also take home 30 big ones, as well as a shot to compete for 500 big ones next week at Atlanta. Speaking of Atlanta, that's where we close this thing out. Tell us a little bit about your experience there and what you expect.
I'm terrible. Nobody else needs to practice. They'll all beat me. No, I think it'll be good. I mean, I like Atlanta. Like this race, you're gonna have some things go your way. It helps to be fast and be one of the top 3 or 4 guys, but it's probably going to come down to a late rate caution or the right strategy on when to come down to pit road. And all those guys are phenomenal drivers. I've had a blast racing with them. Even if I come home 5th next week, I'm going to be super pumped about it. And we're going to go try to win the title for B Water. And thanks to Dan, who was spotting for me, and you guys for broadcasting.
Well, cool deal, man. Great race tonight. Really good save through the grass. Way to play the strategy. And before we let you go and take this momentum into next week, who would you like to thank?
Yeah, everyone at B Water. Just got a new sponsorship deal done with them this week, so I'm pumped we were able to put this car in victory lane tonight. and hopefully we can do it again next week. And you guys for broadcasting, Dan for spotting for me, everyone at Rev'd Racing, all the sponsors there. I mean, those guys are great. So appreciate y'all. Appreciate everyone I just mentioned.
Cool deal, man. Well, we'll see you next week when you roll that 28 car into Atlanta.
Thank you.
All right, we'll drop him back down into his. And now let's take a look and see who our top drivers are going to be. And let's go one by one here, if you don't mind. We're going to have a little bit of fun with this and just be sure everybody knows who these guys are. So let's start off with the winner of tonight's race. He actually ended up being number 1 on the charts, and he is in the championship next week. Jordan Bain for Rev Racing.
When you win races, that's definitely going to help you out. But more importantly than being just the point leader is he's got a bunch of momentum going in as well.
Vincent Cortez will be the second one in. He actually tied with his teammate, Adrian Schumacher, who will be the third driver in that championship. So a couple tank racing drivers in there.
It's always good when you can have multiple drivers from the same team in the playoffs, or the championship race, I should say. That just shows the strength of that team, and both drivers definitely deserving. We talked to Adrian tonight, and sounds like he's ready to go.
Tristan Bailey will also be competing for that championship. We saw him up front an awful lot here tonight, and so we will see if he can do the same thing next week in Atlanta.
Yeah, and the finish just didn't fall his way tonight, but he did enough to keep his playoff hopes alive. I expect him to be a strong contender next week. All right, Sean, moment of truth.
Our final competitor, there is not a tie on the cut line. Our final competitor, Greg Olenek from Rev Racing, will make it in. So 2 Rev Racing drivers, 2 tank racing drivers, and a Murray Reedy Motorsports driver are our finalists for the $500 championship.
There we go. Just like we talked about all the time, Greg finds a way, and he found just enough points tonight. Emmy winner, and he might be bringing that Emmy to SRN, broadcasting these truck races too.
That would be incredible. We would be the only broadcast company with an Emmy for sim racing. That would be so cool. Anyway, these are our final standings here, and you can see only 1 point separated Greg Olenek and Seth Reid. So Seth Reid gave it all he had and just came up 1 point short.
That's why every position matters, and think about it, that's 1 point over 3 weeks of racing. So that's 1 position over 3 races. That's crazy tight, but like we say, every race, every position matters, and Greg found one position enough to make it happen.
And the other part of all this stuff is the team championship as well, and you can see going back up into that bracket, JW Racing did make it through, and Tank Racing did make it through. They were separated by only 6 points between those two. So this last round is going to be a knockdown, drag-out fight. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, we talked to Drew Ballesteros with our JW Racing tonight, and he sounds geared up and ready for that team championship because he's not competing in the regular championship. However, on the flip side, you have Tank. They have 2 drivers in the championship for individual standings, so yeah, that's going to be a really good battle. We have a really good team championship battle in the Truck Series and a really good one in the Xfinity Series for next week.
Well, definitely come back next week and see the Big Finish 180. You're not going to want to miss this. A lot of money going out next week. A lot of competition going on the track. So it is going to be tough to follow. You're going to need somebody to talk you through it all, and that's why me and Jonathan are here for you.
That's right, Sean, and it's always incredible the last race of the year because not only do you give away a bunch of the prizes and the money, but it's kind of this relief once the season's over. All the drivers usually stay in the Discord and talk for a few hours after the race, talking about their season, what their plans are, and what they're doing outside of racing. It's kind of a chance for us all to get together and have a big party after the race, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to capping my first season of broadcasting off next week with you.
Definitely, and our very next broadcast this Sunday, the Lone Star 210, as the Cup Series has their cutoff race. They only have 10 people in there in this playoff round. They didn't have a tie on the cut line, but they definitely have some battles going on that cut line this time around.
Seen 2 really good cutoff races at Texas so far, and I don't expect Sunday's race to be any different. So definitely tune in to that one. You won't want to miss it. Texas just has something about it that's able to produce these good cutoff races, so I hope we continue to do this next year.
Definitely the perfect place to end our playoff chase before we get to the championship. So great job by everybody here tonight. Always fun to broadcast with you. Definitely everybody come back on Sunday. Check out the Lone Star 210 and absolutely positively do not miss next week's race here in the Xfinity Series because it is going to be a straight up battle. But the only way that you can win the championship here in Speed Racing Network is simple. Just go faster.